Welcome back to the Tool Crib. Today we're going to be looking at one of ThruNite's latest flashlights. This is the ThruNite TT20. And this one is going to have a max output of 2,526 lumens. It's going to have a max candela of 16,650 and a max throw of 258 meters. So this one's going to get out there pretty far. Now there are a couple features on the ThruNite that I really enjoy. I think the biggest one though is going to be what's called their infinity setting, which allows you to dial in the lumen or the brightness of the flashlight exactly where you want it whenever you turn on the flashlight, from a range of 31 lumens on its low setting to the infinity high, which is 1,468 lumens. So instead of having to step, say you start out at 5 lumens and then jump to 60 and then 250 or 700, whatever the case may be, this flashlight allows you to range in or dial in that lumen exactly where you want it. It's one of the features that I really find myself enjoying with this flashlight. Now, I want to say a special thanks to ThruNite, who sent this along for testing and review. It is very much appreciated. Let's get into the specs, and then we'll talk about some of those features, especially when it comes to the light outputs, and we'll go through the user interface, show you how everything works on this flashlight, and then we'll throw in some night shots, and I'll give you my thoughts on what I think of the ThruNite TT20. Before we jump into the specs of this flashlight, I want to show you what all comes with it. So obviously you're going to get the flashlight. It's going to include the optimized 21700 battery that comes with it. It's going to have a dual position, dual orientation pocket clip. You're going to get your lanyard attachment for those that like to attach a lanyard to their flashlight. They provide a couple extra things too that you don't always get. This is an extra tail cap switch cover. They give you a couple of extra O-rings as well in case you damage yours. And they give you a couple of extra USB Type-C, the boot covers for your charging port. And finally, they give you a nylon case that goes with it. Now, the nylon case can be hooked via, if you want to just hang this on something, if you want to put it on a pack or something with a little carabiner, and you can obviously belt carry. Now, this is going to be a Velcro closure. It's going to house the flashlight. I will say that this case is not the greatest case. I wish they would make some improvements on this one, because what happens is it tends to want to collapse if you're trying to use this flashlight as a belt carry and you're trying to put the flashlight back in. With the pocket clip on there, it tends to snag a little bit. And you can alleviate that by taking off the pocket clip. But I kind of like to leave mine on the flashlights. And when you get into this 21700 battery platform, these little larger flashlights, I personally feel that they're a little bit too large to pocket carry. I know some people are not going to have that issue. I just think that they're a little bit too bulky. So I tend to want to sheath carry 21700s as opposed to something like the 18650 battery platform, which I do feel is probably on the high end of what would be comfortable for a pocket. But nonetheless, I think they could stand to use a little bit of improvement on the sheaths that they provide for their flashlights. Well, let's get into the specs. The overall length on this flashlight is going to be 5¼ inches. That's going to translate to 136 millimeters. The head diameter is a little bit wider than that of the body. This is going to be 1 3/16 of an inch, or 30 millimeters. The body is just slightly over an inch in overall diameter, or 26 millimeters. Now the weight on this is going to be 6.27 ounces, or 177 grams. One thing that I forgot to mention, I apologize for missing this, is that it does come included with the charging cable. So you get a USB Type-C recharging cable that goes along with it. I apologize for missing that. Now, some of the features with this flashlight. So first of all, it is going to carry an IPX8 rating. That's going to be waterproof down to 1.5 meters. It's also going to have a drop rating of 1.5 meters as well. This is going to be an all aluminum body. This is 6061 aluminum with a black anodized finish on it. Now, they do have another version of this flashlight that comes in a pretty nice color of red that is a very good looking flashlight as well. It comes with the 2-position dual orientation pocket clip. So for those that like to change up their orientation, you can flip it around to the other side. In the body, they have milled sections here where the clip will fit on quite nicely. Let me take that off and we'll set that to the side. Now, it's going to come with, obviously, the USB Type-C charging. The port for that is right here, and it has a little dust cover that goes over it. And we saw some of the extras that they send with it were a couple extra boot covers for that. Now, one thing I will say about this charge port, though, the boot cover specifically, is it's a little tough to reseat. You can get it reseated, but I have found others to be a lot easier. I wish they would redesign this a little bit, make it a little bit more, just seat up a little bit better, because I found in testing and using this, that boot cover actually comes out quite easily. It's one of the things that I don't necessarily care for with this flashlight. Now, if we get into the body here, we'll unscrew the tail cap here. Now it comes with the O-ring seal. That's some of the extra parts. In case you were to damage yours, you do have those couple of extra where you can reseal it, or you know, set a new O-ring so that you can maintain your seal. The battery source on here is a 3.6 volt, 5,000 milliamp hour, 21700 battery that is optimized by ThruNite to work with this flashlight. Now the LED emitter on here is going to be an SST70. An SST70 LED emitter that's going to produce a really cool white light. So it's pretty bright, and it's going to come with a smooth reflector. On the body itself, you do have some places, you have 4 spots where you can set your lanyard in. So those are machined into the body of the flashlight. They do have on the head section here, they have milled in flats. They prevent the flashlight from rolling when you got it on an unlevel surface. I find these to be a little narrow though. I wish they would widen them up a little bit, make it a little bit more stable on an unlevel surface. Now it comes with 2 operating switches. You have the side switch and the tail switch. So the tail switch is actually a 2-stage switch. It's going to let you do a half press for momentary on and a full press to turn on your turbo mode. The side switch is going to have an LED indicator. Now all of the features and functions for this flashlight can be operated through the side switch. It also has the little LED indicator. We'll just turn the flashlight on. Let me tone this down a little bit. And our LED indicator, you can see that is illuminated blue. That's going to give us more or less give us an idea of where our battery life is. So from 21% up to 100%, that LED will be blue when the flashlight is on, except for the firefly mode. It won't illuminate when the firefly mode is on. When the battery power drops below 21%, from 11% to 20%, the LED will be red. And then when it drops to 10% or below, the red LED will begin to flash, letting you know that it is time to recharge your flashlight or critical battery life. So we'll shut that off. I'll tell you what, let's go through the user interface to this flashlight. The user interface on this flashlight is pretty easy to navigate through. So the first setting that we're going to be working with is what's called the firefly mode. And to access that, it is a single long press on your side switch. If we long press that for about a half a second, it's going to turn on the 0.54 lumen firefly mode. Now this has a runtime of 64 days. This makes an excellent reading light. I wish it was just a touch brighter, because while it still makes a very good navigation light when you're in the dark, it tends to be, it's a little bit dim for me. I really wish that it was closer to that 1 lumen range. So again, to turn it on, long press, and then to shut it off, single click. Now our next setting is what is called the infinity mode. And I don't remember where I have it set at, but we'll turn it on. Let me get it into its lowest setting real quick. And it's going to flash there to let me know it's there. So the infinity setting allows you to range the flashlight anywhere you want between 31 lumen on the low side to 1,468 lumen on the high side. Now right now I have it set at the lowest setting. To adjust it, you just long press the button, and it's going to ramp up slowly until it reaches the top, and then when it does, it'll flash to let us know it's at the highest setting. And then it will ramp back down if you hold it until the lowest setting, and when it reaches the lowest, it'll flash again. Now let's ramp it back up a little bit. Let's get it right there in the middle somewhere. So let's say we turn our flashlight on, and it's either too high or too low for what we're trying to use it for. So we'll long press, and we'll see it's ramping down. Now you can immediately let go of the switch, re-hit the switch, and it'll start ramping up. So you can change the direction that it goes pretty quickly. I really like this setting, this infinity setting, because it allows you to put the flashlight in exactly the range that you want. So let's say you want to just single click, you turn on your flashlight, you want it to come on at 125 lumens. Well, you have the option to do exactly that with this flashlight, or to get it pretty close. Obviously, you can't count the lumens, but you can get it very, very close to the brightness level that you prefer. Where in other manufacturers, you are set, the light settings are already preset. So let's say you jump from 5 lumens to 60 lumens to 250 lumens and 700 lumens, or whatever the case may be. Well, you do not have the ability to dial that light in, but with this infinity setting, you do, and it is a feature on the ThruNite that I really, really like a lot. Now, on the infinity low setting, that 31 lumen, that'll give you a 90-hour runtime. On the high setting, the 1468 lumen, that's going to give you 3 hours and 10 minutes of runtime, at which point it's going to ramp down to 654 lumens for an additional 3 hours and 55 minutes of runtime. Now, the next setting that we'll get into is the turbo mode. And to access that one from the side switch, it's a quick double click. So that'll get you into your 25-26 lumen mode, or your turbo mode. To shut that off, it's just a single click to get back out of it. Now, that mode is going to have a 2-minute and 30-second runtime, at which point it's going to drop down to 610 lumens for an additional 3 hours and 57 minutes of runtime. So that turbo mode is actually really, really bright. I will say one thing about it is, in that turbo mode, it heats up the flashlight incredibly quickly. And after about 2 minutes, you really don't want it on, because it's really getting to the point where it's even too warm to handle. It's okay on the body, but if you, for some reason, were choked up on it, you'll definitely feel the heat off of it. Back on the body, it's not that bad, but you do run the risk of I don't know about burning yourself, but you'll definitely know that it's been on for a while. Now, the next setting is your strobe setting, and it is only accessible from the side switch. To get to that, it is a quick triple click. So 1, 2, 3 will get you into your strobe function. Now, the strobe operates at 1294 lumens, and it has a runtime of 5 hours and 20 minutes for the strobe. Now, on the tail switch, it is a 2-stage switch, so you have a temporary, and then you have a full press to leave it on constant. Now, this only operates the turbo mode, so I can temporarily turn turbo mode on, release it, and it'll shut off, or I can full press it, and it will be on. A couple of things I'm going to say, one good, one bad thing about this switch. The good. The switch is actually very, very easy to operate. It takes very minimal pressure to get to that first setting, or that temporary on. That is something that I really like, because I've worked with other flashlights, or used other flashlights, where to hit that temporary setting, it took quite a bit of pressure. And if you're using it for any length of time in that temporary setting, it's actually quite fatiguing on your thumb. Where this one is a very soft press to get in the temporary, and it's very defined between the temporary and the full press. So that's one thing I do like about that switch quite a bit. What I don't care for is that it's only turbo mode. In my personal opinion, I think that this should be, at minimum, it should be 2 different settings. So a temporary press, or the half press, would get you into turbo. I really like to see the strobe function on these tactical tail switches in some way, shape, or form. So I think this should be turbo for the half, and strobe for your full press. In the event that you were trying to ward off an attack from somebody, and you need to get in that strobe mode very quickly, the last thing you want to be doing is trying to remember on the fly if it takes a double press, or a double click, or a triple click, or whatever, to get into your turbo mode. I would rather see it where you just, without even thinking, you can full press it, it's automatically into turbo, and it stays into strobe mode, and stays into strobe mode. That's something I wish they could change with this flashlight. I do like the switch, I just wish it had an additional setting. Now, some of the positive to this flashlight are that, first of all, the one I like the most is the infinity setting. I like the ability to range that flashlight in exactly, dial it in exactly where you want it, so when you turn it on, it's right there. I also like the ability to be able to move that setting if you want, so you can go higher and lower. But whenever you get it to a setting that you like, you shut it off, and when you come back onto it, it's held in memory. It's just a setting or a feature to this flashlight that I find myself really, really liking. Now, a couple of the other things that I really like with this flashlight, obviously stuff like the pocket clip, the fact that they have flats ground into the head of the flashlight to keep it from rolling around on you on flat surfaces. Those are features that I like. The tactical tail switch, while I like the switch itself, I definitely wish they could add in a strobe function to this flashlight. Now, this one has a little bit of what they call a crenulated bezel, but it's not very sharp, so this is not something that I would consider a tactical flashlight per se. It's not something that's going to be able to ward off an attack, or not going to be able to cut into skin if you're using this as a blunt force instrument. So that doesn't necessarily sell me one way or another on the flashlight. Some people are looking for exactly a tactical flashlight that has the ability to do that. That one is not the biggest selling point for me, because I use my flashlights more so as an EDC flashlight, and I'm not necessarily looking for that particular feature in a flashlight. Some of the things that they definitely could change with this, we talked about that switch, getting a different setting into that switch. I definitely think that they need to rethink their port cover for their charging port. That could definitely use some improvement. On the whole, though, I like this flashlight. I'll tell you one thing about the light settings on here is that while this doesn't give you the most defined hotspot, what I found is that in the spill of this flashlight, it is a lot more illuminated than what you'll find in some other flashlights. A lot of flashlights will give you a very sharp and defined hotspot, but the spill is very, very dim by comparison. Where this one, it definitely is a softer definition between the spill and the hotspot, and it just illuminates the spill a lot better. So you can really illuminate a wide swath with this flashlight. It's just a feature that I like with this one. Sometimes it just depends on what you're doing, but as a more EDC flashlight, this one has a little bit more spill, a little bit less defined hotspot or less defined throw. So while there are flashlights in this range that are going to have a bit more throw than this one, I kind of like the way this one illuminates that wide area. So this is the ThruNite TT20, available both in black and in red. I'll leave links down below for those that are interested in this flashlight to the ThruNite Amazon store, so you can pick one up or you can check it out. Now at $70, it's going to be a lot cheaper than what some of the competition is, so this is also another consideration. My name is Ben. You've been watching the Texas Tool Crib. I appreciate you watching, and I will see you in the next one.